I'm Ginny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm here with Lori Pieper to talk about her article in the March-April issue of On Purpose Woman magazine. Lori, thanks for being with me today.
Oh, my pleasure, Jenny. My pleasure.
So before we dive into this really interesting topic that you wrote about, tell our viewers a little bit about you and your work.
So I combine the woo-woo of ancient sages with the wow of modern physics, which now modern physics is starting to prove that those sages from thousands of years ago were right. So with regard to stress and the way stress impacts us with just our thoughts, all of that stuff, it's real. And what's cool is modern physics is proving it. Now, I use that information, I combine that information to help guide women to remove the shackles of social conditioning and learn to find their passion, their life passion and purpose, and then have the courage to follow it.
So big and so important. Thank you for doing that. And I know you have a personal story somewhere that brought you to this place, right? You want to say a few words about that real quick?
Yeah, so I worked for corporate America for almost 40 years. Yeah, pretty much on to 40 years. And while I loved my job and I loved what I did most of the time, as they started laying people off, the pressure was more and more on those of us who were left behind. And I kept trying to do everything for everybody, and I didn't realize it until I literally had a panic attack in front of my computer. I was working at home at the times before COVID, and I'm like, this isn't right. Work should not be. And then I started realizing how I wasn't with my family as much. I wasn't with my friends as much. I was exhausted, and it's like, this is not. And so I started researching and found yoga, found meditation, found Reiki, and I've got certifications in all of them because they changed my life for the better. So I can love my life again and be that person that I remember being as a younger, when I was younger, before I had all the stress of work and home and all that.
Adulting, right?
Yes, good word for
Yeah,
it,
all
yes.
those things that we're expected of us as an adult, especially an adult woman, right? So
Yes,
that's
yes,
another talk for another time, isn't it?
yes.
But in this article, you wrote about getting to the heart of it, and you start by asking, what do we think of when we think of the word heart? Is it heart as in the physical muscle that pumps blood, or heart as in the central processing unit, CPU, or your being, or your real brain? So let's start with the heart that's the physical muscle and talk just a little bit about that, because I think that a lot more people know about that heart than they know about the heart that is the CPU that we're going to be talking about. So you
Yes.
agree, you're doing like this, you agree with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what's the purpose of this heart muscle, particularly when it comes to stress?
So, we know that we need our heart to survive, the physical heart, and it does pump blood throughout your system so that every part of your body needs that blood, needs the oxygen, needs, the nutrients and everything that's coming through the blood. Now, with regard to stress, when we're stressed, your heart that muscle starts pumping harder to
Mhm.
get that blood into your muscles so that you can either fight or run away from danger. And when you're done, well, also sticky platelets are being put into your veins and your arteries so that if you do get injured, you don't bleed out, right? I mean, it's good. So you cut your finger and you know that if you apply some pressure, it's going to stop bleeding. Those sticky platelets. There's also hormones going through, so cortisol. And I have to say, I worked with a lovely woman when I was in corporate. She did everything right. She ate right. She exercised, and no family history of high cholesterol, yet she had high cholesterol. She didn't believe her doctor. And I told her, I said, it's because you're so stressed. Because it's not just the food you eat, it's not just that you exercise, but if you're not managing your stress and giving yourself time to get into that rest and restore, which reverses all the hormones and everything that are in your bloodstream. It gives your body time to wash that through,
Mhm.
essentially. So,
Let me stop you there just a minute.
yeah,
Let's go back
sure.
to the sticky platelet thing, because I think that's something I know I'd forgotten about that until I read your article. And so I'm thinking of, we get stressed, and doesn't have to be a big stress to cause this to happen in our body. It could be something, I mean, that's certainly not life-threatening, right? It could be
Right.
we're missing a deadline at work and we're just like all out of sorts. But our body thinks we're going to either be running or fighting. And so not only do we need the cortisol to help us, not only do we need the blood pumping through all of our body, these sticky platelets start showing up. And we don't want those on a regular basis, do we?
Correct. We do not want those. Yes. And again, the body is smart. It's a fabulous machine where it will get rid of those given time. And it doesn't take a lot of time, maybe just
Mhm.
10, 20 minutes. But exactly what you said, Jenny, our brains are keeping us safe by showing us every little thing that could possibly hurt us. So if
Mhm.
you think about during the day, how many times are you worried, angry, or fearful? Any of those times you are in fight or flight, even if you don't feel it. Sometimes we're so used to that stress, we don't even realize that we are stressed because it's normal.
Yeah, and just imagine that people who have to commute daily, just that commute, unless you really are conscious about that and you've got other things, and you can just relax and be with whatever's going on the road, which I've learned to do a lot over the years. But granted, I don't go in rush hour traffic hardly ever because I can control my schedule. But man, you're doing that every day to yourself, twice a day. And then you go to work where the stress is probably high for most people, at least
Right.
sometimes during the day. And then you come home and there's all that stuff there. And I'm going to speak for women in general, all the undone stuff. If you've got children, if you've got to make a meal, and if you're a single
Yes.
mom on top of, I mean, my goodness,
Yep.
my goodness.
Yes. Yes.
So we're going to talk about the other heart because that can
Mhm.
help us, right? With this, that can help us with this. I can see you like that one better than
Yeah. Absolutely.
we need them both,
Absolutely.
obviously. We need them both. But
Yes.
yeah, that will this other heart, which let me go see where I want to talk about that. Okay. Oh, before I leave this part about stress, check out Lori's article, those of you watching, because she has a link there to 5 easy stress busters. So you want
Oh,
to check
yeah.
that out and keep those things with you for when you need them, or just remember them because I mean, you need to have something in your car that's going to help you just, calm down. And so let's talk about that other brain, the CPU or your real brain. Why is it called your real brain?
Well, studies have been done. Excuse me. I recently read about a study where, and modern physics or modern science, and I should say, the reason I combine modern science with the ancient wisdom of sages from thousands of years ago is because modern science now has the ability to monitor what's going on in your brain and what's going on in your heart and your body. And there's a recent study, actually, there've been several studies where when monitoring your physical heart and monitoring the brain at the same time, the scientists expected that the brain would react and then the heart would react. They were surprised to find out that the heart reacted first and then the brain reacted. So who's in charge, right? And the really cool thing is they did this study where I don't have any cards here, where they had cards and each card had either a happy scene or a scary scene. And they people doing, sorry, excuse me. So people doing the study didn't know what the cards were, what the next scene was going to be. And they found that the heart responded sub-seconds before they even saw the card.
Hmm.
So there is an intuition there that we're not tapping into. If you're not tapping into your CPU, the heart, you're not tapping into that intuition.
Yeah. That when I read that in the article, it just floored me because that's like, card tricks or something, right? That seems magical, and yet it's scientifically proven. And like you said in your article, there are a few different studies that are finding that the heart responds first. And
Yes.
so, when you talk about if we're not tapping into that, into our heart, a lot of people, and me included, have for years said, oh, we trust our gut. We think that feeling down here in our gut is where the truth lies. But what's the difference between those two, do you think?
So the body is very interconnected. And as we grow up, we're either we may be nurturing one part of our body or paying attention to one part of our body over the other.
Mhm.
So for someone who is heart-centered, and actually how do I say this? When you're heart-centered, it's not necessarily that you feel your heart pumping faster or anything. It is truly an intuition where you feel like, I don't want to go down that alley. I don't want to go that way. Or, and then you find out that there was an accident there. And that's why, so there's something telling you what's going on that you would have no other way of knowing. Does that make sense, by the
Does.
way? Okay. Your stomach, when your stomach, like the gut reacts, it's an actual physical reaction. So you can feel your stomach grumbling, or you can feel, yeah, just it's
The
very
thinking, sick
uncomfortable.
feeling or something. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So we're tuned into what we can cognize physically versus what we can cognize it's out there. I mean,
Mhm.
it's here, but there's nothing saying knock, 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 hey, the heart's got a message for you. It's just,
Right.
you just have to be in tune with that. And things like meditation and mindfulness all help with that.
So can we use both of them then, our gut and our heart?
Absolutely.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, when I'm teaching my clients to listen to their body, I have this little exercise where I tell them to put their hands on their belly, put their attention on their belly, and then think of something that's healthy for them to eat, but they absolutely cannot stand. So for me, that would be beets. And when I do that, I can feel my body reacting. And then have the opposite. Oh, think of something that's really good for you that you like. And you can feel the difference. And it might take a little practice, but once you start recognizing how your body reacts to good, bad, and indifferent, it's a powerful, powerful message that overrides the brain that's trying to keep you afraid and stuck.
Mm. And so this heart space can be cultivated. We
Yes.
can go and I, this is something I've been, I guess, reading about, learning about, practicing for decades now, since I first learned of it, and was also doing some courses and things like that. And it takes a while to make it like an often thing, I guess. That's not great
Yeah.
grammar, but or to trust it, right? So
Hmm.
how do we
Yeah.
learn to trust it? How do we let me back up a minute. You said that meditation and mindfulness and all were great ways to get to that space. If you think that's
Yes.
the best way for most people, what about people who say, well, I can't meditate for more than 5 minutes a day? Can they get value from that?
Absolutely. And anybody that tells me I can't meditate, I tell them that's what I thought too, until I learned primordial sound meditation through the Chopra Center. And the instruction is so clear. So the myths are busted. You don't have to clear your mind, I mean, so it taught me that yes, I can meditate, anyone can meditate. And yes, even 5 minutes with my new meditation clients, because I shouldn't say the ideal, but the recommended is 20 to 30 minutes morning and evening.
Mhm.
I don't always have time for that. Which that's a whole nother story. But yeah, just 5 minutes a day. So I tell my new meditation clients, just 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. You can certainly do that. And let me tell you, it will change your world. Um, I shouldn't say my sister, but my sister recently, after going through the meditation course, she called me a week later and she said, Lori, I would never believe this, but she already felt calmer
Mm,
within a week. And it's just 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening.
yeah. And so what has to happen, I believe, for us to get into our heart space is that we have to be quiet.
Yes.
We have to be in a space where we can actually hear it. And
Yes.
we hear it in all
Yes.
sorts of different ways. Some people hear it,
Yes.
they feel it. Some people, I get kind of downloads sometimes when I'm in that heart space of, when I'm pondering something, all of a sudden I'll have this really amazing solution to an issue. It's like, oh, isn't that a coincidence, right? That just happened, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And I don't
Yes.
really believe that, but I think I did believe that in the beginning. That, oh, I wonder why that just popped in. Well, it's because I was sitting quietly.
Yes.
We can't get answers if our mind is always just, you know, so.
Exactly. Deepak Chopra once said, when asked what's the difference between meditation and prayer, he said,
Mm,
prayer is talking to God, meditation is listening to God.
yes.
You can't listen. And if you think of it like that, there's like an annoying noise that you never heard before, although God talking to you is not annoying, but as an example, something you've never heard before, and somebody says, do you hear that? And as soon as you hear it, you're tuned into it. And so now you're hearing it all the time. And that's exactly what you're talking about, Jenny. You get tuned in to these mindfulness practices and meditation, get you tuned in to that place where you can listen to God.
Mhm. And let me just say this, and I think you would say this to our audience as well. If there's someone watching this who thinks that you can't meditate or who think it's all about, you've got to sit quietly for 30 minutes, I've got what they call monkey mind, which means I'm a thinker and it goes everywhere. Mindfulness meditation is the meditation that kind of got me to see that I could meditate, because it's just simply noticing the
Right.
thoughts, then going back to your breath. Notice that there's no
Yes.
judgment, there's no right or wrong or any of that. So,
Yes, yes. And that's what the primordial sound meditation instruction teaches as well. It's not about not thinking, it's about not attaching to those thoughts.
yes, yes.
Big
I,
difference.
it is a big difference,
Mhm.
because when we let them go, they're gone.
Right.
I'm a
Right.
huge fan of Wayne Dyer. Excuse me, Wayne
Oh,
Dyer and
yeah.
Chopra were like best pals. And I think I saw Wayne speak in person at least 8 times during his lifetime and mine. And he would
Nice.
often say that, he says, yeah, I'm talking to my friend Deepak, and I ask him, how do we deal with this and this? And Deepak would go, meditate, meditate. He would do this little imitation of Deepak. Like that was the answer to every single question that he would ask Deepak,
Yep.
was to
Yeah.
meditate. And I
Yeah.
think for the purpose of what we're talking about here, again, some people aren't in the habit of taking 5 minutes a day to just sit quietly,
Right.
with nothing around, with no noise, no TV, no nothing, and to just be
Right.
silent for 5 minutes with no agenda. That can do wonders too, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's see
Because
what
you
else I
really
want to
do.
ask you. Go ahead, keep talking.
I was just gonna say, because you really do start feeling you.
Mm,
Right? When you're in
okay.
that place of silence, you're not only there and able to listen to God, but you can also remember who you are.
Mm. What a beautiful, wonderful point. Thank you for saying that. You also write that it's important to have a balance between heart and brain. Why does that matter?
Well, as I mentioned in the article, your heart's not going to be able to do your taxes at the end of
Yeah.
the year. Um, and your and your brain also is not going to give you those intuitive clues. So using them both. So your brain will help. Oh, how do I put this? But it does help you kind of cut through the weeds sometimes.
Mm,
Do I want to go right or left? Well, depending upon where you want to go, you might have to go right. But if you have multiple, and I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole, and I'm just going to come back with that because I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. But essentially, your brain can't do your tax, or your brain can do your taxes, your heart can't. There are things that, reading a book, your brain helps you read a book. your brain and your heart both work together to make sure that your cells are talking to each other, that your body is in good shape. Your heart is more of your soul, and your brain is more of the, all right, I got to get the day-to-day task done. Does that make sense?
It sure does make sense. Yes,
Okay.
it does. And so is there anything else you want to say about like, how can we be more in that heart space? Anything you want to add to that, or the benefits of it, or just anything that I might have left out that you'd like to say?
So, trust for one, trust it. And if you're not trusting it, recognize if you're not trusting it and what happens afterwards. So it's kind of like training yourself. And recently I've been in my head a lot, and I wasn't trusting what my heart was telling me, what my spirit was telling me. And I was exhausted, and I wasn't feeling, I wasn't sick. I just wasn't. And then I took a walk. I just thought, I'm taking a walk. It's nice out. And all of a sudden, when I'm in that space, nature's a great place to be. It just came to me, Lori, you're not doing what you're passionate about. You're doing all this other busy work. So so recognizing and then learning from that, I have to learn from that, when my heart is speaking, listen to it. Don't let the brain override it. So
I love that. I felt really nice and calm and peaceful when we got on here, and I feel even more so now because it's just such a lovely space to be, isn't it? I mean, and if you haven't experienced that, viewers, give yourself the gift of just sitting and being for short periods of time. Also, all of Lori's information is in the text of this video. So reach out to Lori. She offers all sorts of great stuff that that can help you get to this space. And is there any particular way that you want our viewers to know about that, Lori, or something you have coming up you want to talk about, or the best way to get in touch with you?
well, you can go to my website, journeytoinnerjoy.com, just all spelled out, journeytoinnerjoy.com. It tells you my programs. I do have an amazing new workshop coming up. It's probably going to be in May. I'm planning it now. It's probably going to be in May. And this program is one where actually a husband of a woman who took the class last year thanked me because he didn't know what I did, but his wife was so much happier. So I'm just
Wow.
going to let that speak for itself. So I do have workshops. I do, meditation instruction courses. So I do have a lot going on. And, you can reach out to me through my website or Lori@journeytoinnerjoy.com.
Thank you, Lori. And all of that information again is in the chat. I'm sorry, in the text of this video. Lori, before I wrap up here, want to leave us with one final thought?
Breathe. And when I say breathe, breathe with your belly. There's a reason they say take a deep belly breath. Because if you're breathing just from your chest, you're putting yourself into fight or flight. When you're breathing and you can feel your tummy move like a baby's tummy when it's sleeping, then you are initiating rest and restore. And that's so important. When you're stressed out, when you're afraid, as soon as you recognize it, close your eyes, put your hands on your belly, and breathe.
Beautiful advice. And, babies and animals do it, but somehow we forgot how. I think, I read something one time that said that women didn't like breathing like that because it made their stomachs stick out.
Oh,
And I'm like,
yes.
who's watching us breathe, right? I mean, do we have to be paranoid about everything? I mean, it's,
Well,
I don't want to
yeah,
offend anybody because my belly might, it's time to
right.
get over those things, right?
Absolutely.
And I want to point out that our viewers that when I asked Lori this question, did she have a final thought? She closed her eyes and she got in her heart space.
I did.
That's what
I
it looks
did.
like. That's what it feels like, and that's what it sounds like. when you do that. So Lori, thank you so much for being with us, for sharing your wisdom in the magazine. And those of you watching, you can read Lori's article in the magazine. The link to that is also in the text of this video. And Lori's also written a beautiful series of articles on miracles. You can go into our archives for this last issue, the issue before this one, the January, February issue. And you can see that's the third one. I believe it was 3, wasn't it, Lori? Yeah, and you can then go back from that and start with the first one. I just don't, I can't backtrack in my mind that
I
easily.
know.
September, October.
October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the archives are right there on the magazine page, so feel free to go and check that out. And so I want to thank you for watching the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show. And for more information on the On Purpose Woman Global Community, click on the link in the text of this video. And for more interviews about amazing women living their lives on purpose, check out our YouTube channel. The link is also in the text of this video. Thanks again.
And Ginny, if I may, if
Yes,
I
you
may
may.
say thank you for, everything that you do with the On Purpose Women Global Community. Thank you for providing this opportunity to me, and you're the best.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Felt that in my heart for sure. Thanks, Lori. Bye, everyone.
Bye.